Welcome to the John Campea Podcast, episode 15 for Monday, April the 11th, 2016. This episode of the John Campea Podcast is sponsored by GeekFeed.com. Stuff your geek hole. Hey guys, and thanks for joining me on this episode of the podcast. We're going to talk about Captain America Civil War reactions. I was there to watch it last week. We're going to talk about my top 10 favorite Marvel films now that I've seen Captain America Civil War. The new Suicide Squad trailer has dropped. How did Melissa McCarthy beat Batman vs. Superman at the box office? And a whole bunch more. So sit back, relax. The John Campea Podcast starts right now. Well, hey there, guys, and thanks for joining me on this Monday, back for another episode of the John Campea Podcast. Had a wonderful weekend. Just a fabulous weekend, actually. If you guys haven't heard of this little music group, I highly suggest you check it out. Last night, Ann and I went to the Dolby Theater in Hollywood. Now, the Dolby Theater, if that name sounds familiar, used to be called the Kodak Theater. And what that is the theater where they hold the Oscars every year. It's a gorgeous, beautiful facility. Anyway, Ann and I went to go see these guys called the Two Cellos. They're from Croatia, and they are exactly what the name of the group is. It's two guys who play cellos. I mean, and that doesn't sound like the type of thing that John Campea would normally run out and do on a weekend evening, but these guys are fantastic. They're amazing. I first came across them a little over a year ago. If you hop on YouTube and search for Two Cellos. Now that's the number 2, CELLOS. Okay. So hop on YouTube and look for Two Cellos Thunderstruck and watch that video. And when you do, you're going to kind of be hooked on these guys. And anyway, so Ann and I went to go see their concert last night, and they were amazing. We saw them in concert last year too, but this year they were at the Dolby Theater, and they sold out the Dolby Theater, which was insane. And it's just awesome. And that's it. I mean, half of the concert is just the two of them on stage with their cellos. And they're playing all these songs. I mean, a couple of original pieces they do. They play a little bit of classical, and then they play a lot of popular rock songs. And then the second half of the concert, they have a drummer come out and accompany them, and it gets crazy. So they're playing some Zeppelin, they're playing some AC/DC, they're playing like a bunch of like well-known tunes as well as some of the originals. Had a lot of fun, but it's really cool being in the Dolby Theater, because if you guys have been following me for any period of time, you know, like to me, the Oscars is a borderline religion. Like the Oscars is my second favorite day of the year besides Christmas. I love the Oscars, and being there, whenever I get to go to the Dolby Theater, I'm kind of, and I've got to go about 4 or 5 times, but I'm always overwhelmed because I'm sitting in this seat. Ann and I were like in the 6th row. We got great tickets, and we're sitting there and looking up at the 4 or 5 levels of balconies they have. And all I can think about is, man, who has sat in this seat? Because 6th row at the Oscars, you're thinking, man, who has sat in this seat before? Because who knows? Maybe a Clint Eastwood has sat here. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe Meryl Streep has sat here. Maybe Julia Roberts has sat here. Maybe Leo DiCaprio has sat here. I mean, who knows who has sat in this seat or sat in one of these seats beside me? You just don't know. I mean, because it's just one of those things. And being there in that Dolby Theater is kind of a cool experience for somebody who's a massive, massive film fan and a film of the Oscars in general, which is really cool. And actually, as a matter of fact, Ann and I are going back to the Dolby Theater again tomorrow night, because tomorrow night on Tuesday night, Ann and I get to go to the world premiere of Captain America Civil War. Now, as you heard off the top, I've already seen Captain America Civil War once. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But I love going to these world premieres, especially right down there in the heart of Hollywood. There's something really cool about going to a premiere down there. And the fact that it's being held in the Dolby Theater just adds a little bit more specialness on top of that. So that's really cool. Anyway, let's get into the first topic of the day, and that is Captain America Civil War. Now, there is a review embargo, so there's not much I can say about Captain America Civil War right now. But one of the things Disney told us as we were going in to watch Captain America Civil War last week was that while we cannot put up our reviews until the 13th, so you have to wait until Wednesday for me to put my full review. While we cannot put up our reviews until April 13th, we were permitted to put up our social media reactions, right now. So we put up a bunch of our social media reactions. So while I will not sit here and review Captain America Civil War for you, I can tell you exactly what I tweeted. And I'm going to go through some tweets of some of the other people who were there at that screening as well. And this should give you an idea about what we thought of the film. But once again, I can't go into a full review. I will get into a full review on Wednesday. For now, I'm just going to share with you my tweets that I had, as well as the tweets that other people have put up, all right? So here, I'm going to start with my own tweets, okay? This is what I personally tweeted coming out of Captain America Civil War. I tweeted the three following things. My first tweet, Captain America Civil War is fantastic. Flat out fantastic. Either my number 2 or number 3 favorite Marvel film so far. So you might be asking yourself, well, John, if Civil War is your number 2 or number 3 favorite, what's your number 1 and number 2? We'll get to that in just a little while. My second favorite, or my second tweet that I put out about Captain America Civil War when I came out of it that night was, Winter Soldier had a better story. Civil War, better action and set pieces. I'll give a slight nod to Winter Soldier over Civil War, but Civil War is incredible. Now, for those who've been following for a period of time, you got to think back to how much I was blown away by Civil War. How much I was blown away by Winter Soldier. I was floored by Winter Soldier. I had to think long and hard for a couple of weeks about whether or not I actually thought Winter Soldier might even be a better movie than the Avengers. And you know me, I call the Avengers the greatest comic book movie of all time. You may think differently, and that's cool. I'm just saying, I think the first Avengers movie is the greatest comic book movie of all time. And Winter Soldier to me was so good that I had to think long and hard about whether or not I thought it topped it. Now, they're very different movies. For those of you who've seen both Avengers and Winter Soldier, you know Captain America Winter Soldier is a very, very different kind of movie than Avengers. But there you have it. Okay, so my third tweet that I put out, and this is in response to a lot of people, because going into Captain America Civil War, a lot of people were joking, and it's understandable why. A lot of people were joking that really you should call it Avengers 2.5. I think even I made that joke. So a lot of people had been asking and tweeting, it's like, hey, John, so is this really Avengers 2.5 or is it really a Captain America movie? So this is what I tweeted out. I tweeted out, while the use of all the Avengers in Captain America Civil War is excellent, it remains definitively a Captain America movie. I'll read that tweet again. While the use of all the Avengers in Captain America Civil War is excellent, it remains definitively a Captain America movie. So those are my three tweets. Again, I'll read them again, just all in order here. Captain America Civil War is fantastic, flat out fantastic. Either my number 2 or number 3 favorite Marvel film so far. Winter Soldier had a better story. Civil War, better action and set pieces. I'll give a slight nod to Winter Soldier over Civil War, but Civil War is incredible. And while the use of all the Avengers in Captain America Civil War is excellent, it remains definitively a Captain America movie. So those are my tweets. Those are the tweets that I sent out. But there were a whole bunch more people there besides just me. Some friends of mine and colleagues of mine, some peers of mine in the online web space. I just want to read you some of the things that they said. Jermaine Lucier, who's over at IO9, he wrote this. He wrote, Captain America Civil War is a complex mystery posing as a big, fun superhero film. Lots of themes and emotions. Very unexpected and very good. Kevin McCarthy tweeted this. He said, there is an airport action sequence in Captain America Civil War that I would pay full price to see on loop for 3 hours. Now, what Kevin McCarthy is referring to, and you're going to see there were probably dozens and dozens of tweets about this, so I'm not giving anything away. This is all in people's tweets. He's referring to the airport fight that we see in the trailers. Because, in the trailers there's that one scene where you got Cap's side, you got Iron Man's side, all in an airport, and they're about to duke it out. And Kevin McCarthy said about that scene, there's an airport action sequence in Captain America Civil War that I would pay full-on price to see on loop for 3 full hours. There are a lot of people tweeting out that the airport scene could be the greatest action scene in any comic book movie ever in history. I'm sure you've seen that on Twitter. I won't comment on that at this point, but that's what Kevin's talking about. Mike Sampson from Screen Crush writes, and remember, this is all on Twitter, Captain America Civil War is so good. It's a better Avengers movie than the last Avengers movie. Well, I'll question Mike's wording for a bit. I'll definitely agree that Civil War is better than Avengers Age of Ultron. My friend Andy Signor from Screen Junkies, who was sitting with us actually when we watched that movie, he wrote this. Get excited for Captain America Civil War. Fantastic characters, amazing action, and it contains the best comic book movie fight ever. And we were just kind of referencing that. Then Kevin Powley from Yahoo Movies wrote, Captain America Civil War delivers the goods. Endless Avenger versus Avenger action, tense and still funny. Boseman kills it as Black Panther. Again, I'm not reviewing the movie. I'm just going off what Kevin here tweeted. I will totally concur. Totally concur. I had a lot of people writing to me, how was Boseman as Black Panther? How was Boseman as Black Panther? Kevin says, tense and still funny, Boseman kills it as Black Panther. Again, I can't offer any commentary except to say that I wholeheartedly agree with Kevin. Eric Eisenberg from Cinema Blend writes, really incredible character work in Civil War. Spider-Man, Ant-Man, and Black Panther kill it, and the WandaVision and Bucky-Sam dynamics are wonderful. Again, I can offer no commentary on this except to say that I completely endorse and agree with what Eric is saying. And look, if you go through all of the reviews, all of the Twitter reactions from everybody who was legit there, you're going to be hard-pressed to find anything that suggests anything otherwise. Now, I'm not going to talk about the movie. I will talk about my experience in the theater, and I won't make reference to anything that goes on. Again, check out my review on the 13th. That's on Wednesday. But everybody in that theater had a magnificent time. And when the movie was over, you just saw everybody just stayed in the foyer for a bit, talking to each other and buzzing, and like we're just chirping and chirping and chirping. Everybody had a magnificent time. So again, I can't go into much about the movie because there's a review embargo. The review once again is coming on Wednesday the 13th. Check it out. It'll be on I'll talk about it on my podcast here as well, but I'll put up a video review on my YouTube channel. So make sure you check that out. Again, my YouTube channel is youtube.com/John Campea. So make sure you check that out. And hey, while I'm talking about my social media, hey guys, if you're not following me on Twitter, why not? Follow me on Twitter, simply at John Campea. Follow me on Facebook at John Campea. And follow me on Instagram at John Campea. Pretty straightforward. Do you recognize a pattern there? So these are the reactions coming out of Captain America Civil War. It is safe to say these are the reactions that people were hoping to hear. At least movie fans were hoping to hear. Those brain dead idiots who are only DC fanboys. And remember, I am the world's biggest fan. There is nobody out there. There is nobody out there other than maybe Zack Snyder himself, who is a bigger fan of Man of Steel than me. You know that. I am the ultimate Man of Steel defender online. I am also one of the very few defenders of Batman vs. Superman. I actually went on Screen Junkies and won the movie fights where I argued for Batman vs. Superman. You know that. I am one of the only guys who came out, and I still endorse Batman vs. Superman. I like Batman vs. Superman. I will defend Batman vs. Superman. I like that movie. But you know me, I've got a bone to pick with brain dead corporate slave fanboys who are owe their allegiance to only Marvel, and anything not Marvel sucks, and anything that Marvel puts out is great. And the same thing, I got a real bone to pick with the brain dead corporate slave DC fanboys who's anything DC puts out is a masterpiece, and anything Marvel puts out is sucks. You're all idiots. Okay? Have I made that clear before? You're all morons. Total morons. Now, don't get me wrong. I got no problem with somebody who goes into all the movies with open minds and they come out and, hey, the only comic book movies they've liked have been Marvel. Hey, if that's the case, that's totally cool. Or maybe, hey, you've gone in. It's like, hey, I just gone in. I've watched the Marvel films. I don't appreciate them, but I really do appreciate the DC. That's totally cool. But you know who I'm talking about, right? You're talking about these blind idiot fanboys who, like, even before they see a DC movie, like, they just have a religious code and they tattoo DC or they tattoo Marvel on their arms. It's like they'll start trashing anything by Marvel even before they see it. They'll start trashing anything by DC even before they see it. I got no time for these idiots, these morons who hurt the movie fan community. And quite frankly, they hurt the movie-going experience because they're idiots. They're morons. Anyway, because we're all in it for good movies. If you're a Marvel fanboy, you should be going into DC movies hoping for a great movie. If you're a DC fan, you should be going into Marvel movies hoping for a great movie. If you're not, don't pretend you're a film fan. You're not. You're just a blind corporate slave. It just all depends on which master you've chosen. Have you chosen DC to be your master? Have you chosen Marvel to be your master? Either way, you're just an idiot, insignificant slave. That's all you are. You're not a film fan. You're just an idiot slave. So, look, this was the reaction that people wanted to see coming out of Captain America, Civil War. It's breathtaking. It's magnificent. One of the other things that I tweeted out was, and because you all, and I did this for context because you all know I pumped Batman v Superman. I liked Batman v Superman. I'm one of the last guys on the internet who will stand my ground and I will defend Batman versus Superman. But as I tweeted out, Civil War is a better movie than Batman vs. Superman. It's a better movie. It just is. In my opinion, maybe you'll see both and you'll feel differently, and that's totally cool. But from my opinion, to me, there's no question that Civil War is a better movie than Batman versus Superman. So that should give, when you know how much I like Batman versus Superman, that should give you an indication about how much I really like Captain America's Civil War. It's absolutely crazy. And I should touch on this for a second too. Speaking of brain dead moron corporate slaves, there is this ludicrous notion out there that, Disney pays off the film critics. Disney pays off film critics to give them a good review. Really? Really? Have you seen me talk about Iron Man 2? Have you seen me talking about Disney's and Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Have you heard me talk about that? You think Disney's going to pay off some guy who trashes their properties like that? No, I don't think so. I can tell you they don't pay off any film critics. They just don't. All right? You're a moron if you even for a second think there's a possibility any of that is true, because it is absolutely not true. Now, you may not agree with a film critic's opinion of Captain America Civil War. Maybe you go see Civil War and you don't like it. And again, that's totally cool. Film is subjective. That is the best thing about being a film fan, is that all movies are subjective. That is the awesome thing about being a film fan. But this ludicrous notion going around out there that, Disney pays film critics. No, they don't. No, they absolutely do not. They let them see early screenings of movies. Every studio does that. Every movie you've ever heard me trash, a studio let me go see an advanced screening of. Studios, for the most part, man, I gotta tell you, look, I know everybody likes to shake their fist at the man, and the man is corrupt and awful. Look, I'm not saying there's nothing corrupt and awful about the Hollywood film studios, but when it comes to reviews and whatever, Hollywood film studios know the rules. They want critics to see their films, and they want critics to hopefully buzz about their films, and so they give them out. But they only expect film critics to be honest, because that's in their best interest. Even if they put out a bad movie, in the long run, it's in their best interest. So I hope nobody's paying attention to this ludicrous notion that anybody's getting paid off, especially when you see the one-bedroom and bachelor apartments that a lot of film critics in Hollywood live in. That's the truth. So that's kind of weird. Anyway, let's move on from the Captain America Civil War reactions. I went on a bit of a rabbit trail there. Forgive me, guys. It's Monday. I've been penning a lot of stuff up. So let's move on to this. I mentioned in that one tweet that I put out about Captain America Civil War, I said, Captain America Civil War is fantastic, flat out fantastic. As a matter of fact, it's my number 2 or my number 3 favorite Marvel film so far. Well, then the fair question for you to ask now is, well, then what are your top Marvel films? So I thought, now that I have seen Captain America Civil War, I would readjust my top 10 favorite Marvel films. Now, this is not my top 10 favorite comic book films of all time. That list would look different. But these are my top 10. I'm only going to compare Civil War right now to other Marvel properties. So I have put together my top 10 favorite Marvel films as of right now. Okay, at number 10, for those of you who follow me on Facebook, you'll remember I put up this list earlier and I've made one change. I've made one change to this list that I put up on Facebook the other week, and that is the number 10 spot. I did have in my number 10 spot Iron Man 3, but a few people reminded me, it made me think about the Ed Norton Hulk movie, which I like. And actually, you know what? I realized, no, you know what? I like that movie better than Iron Man 3. Because I like Iron Man 3. I do. I don't love it, but I like Iron Man 3. But I think I liked Ed Norton's Hulk film a little bit better. So in my number 10 spot, I have the Ed Norton version of the Hulk. So that's my number 10. My number 9, a movie that some fans don't even like, and I really do. I thought it was a really solid kickoff to a new character, and that is Captain America, the First Avenger. I really adore this movie. I think this is a really well-made film, and I'm surprised how many people out there don't like it. To me, it's a great character. It might be the best flat-out character study of Captain America out of all the Captain America or Avenger movies. So I really like it. So at number 9 is Captain America, the First Avenger. Coming in at number 8 is Avengers Age of Ultron. You know, my first screening of Avengers Age of Ultron, I really liked it. I think I gave it like a 9.5 or something when I came out of the theater. About 2 hours later, after I thought about it a little bit more, and then I did my actual review, I think I dropped it down to a 9. And I've seen it about 5 or 6 more times since then, and it's dropped a little bit more for me since. I still really enjoy it. I know there's a number of people out there who flat out don't like Avengers Age of Ultron, and that's fine. Me, I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with that movie. So for me, it comes in at number 8. At number 7, and now this is a testament to how good Marvel has done so far, because we're at number 7, and well, I really, really liked Avengers Age of Ultron. So every movie on this list, I just loved when I watched it in the theater. So here we go. At number 7 is Ant-Man. I cannot believe how good Ant-Man was, especially when you consider all of that frickin' drama that went on behind the scenes leading up to it get done. Edgar Wright gets pulled. The fans are in a fury. And hey, I was one of those fans that was really disappointed when Edgar Wright left the project, but I understood why. I mean, he had a vision for Ant-Man that was developed years before the MCU really came together. Now the MCU came together. Kevin Feige was concerned about making sure this Ant-Man fit in with the MCU universe. Edgar Wright, as a creative person, I understood this totally, did not want to change his vision. And so they just had a mutually beneficial parting of ways. But there was a lot of drama, and a lot of people were very worried about Ant-Man when Edgar Wright left the project, understandably. So I didn't know what we were going to get when we go in there. And it's one of those films, man, that when I started enjoying it more and more every time I saw it. Because you know, when we're talking about Ultron, it's like, yeah, I went from like absolutely fabulous, fantastic to every time I watched it drop just a little bit. And now I still think it's just a really, really good movie, but it went down. Ant-Man is one of those films for me that every time I watch it, I enjoy just a little bit more. And I really enjoy the nuances and what they did with the characters and the dialogue. It's a very well-paced movie. I really enjoy Ant-Man, so it's number 7. So just to remind you, number 10, Ed Norton's Hulk. Number 9, Captain America, The First Avengers. Number 8, Avengers Age of Ultron. Number 7, Ant-Man. And now for me at number 6, another movie I love, and a lot of people are going to have this movie a lot higher on this list. But for me, I couldn't help it. I just enjoy the ones above it more. Number 6, the first Iron Man movie. Jon Favreau, Robert Downey Jr. really kicked off the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Iron Man. It's just what they did with, honestly, to most people, was a B-level comic book character. What they were able to deliver with that movie set in motion Look, there were comic book movies long before the first Iron Man, but that Iron Man movie really set in motion what the MCU is today. And really the MCU is that's what we know. We just know the MCU, and it was all kicked off by Iron Man. They did such a fabulous job with that movie. It comes at number 6 for me. At number 5 for me, another film that a lot of other people don't appreciate as much as I do, but the Kenneth Branagh interpretation of Thor. I went to go see that movie. I was so tickled. Tickled? Yeah, sure, why not? I was so tickled by Kenneth Branagh's Thor that I went into theater to watch it and paid to see it like 9 times in the first 16 days that it was in release. I just kept going back again and again and again. To me, like the heart of Thor it's really a story about a father and his sons. And it's very Shakespearean in that way. And why should we expect anything else from a director like Kenneth Branagh? It's a very Shakespearean kind of film. And I really appreciated what it was, and I got what it was going for on every single level. Now, was the love interest with Natalie Portman weak? Yes, it was. That was one of the weaknesses of the film. But you'd be hard pressed to find many love interests in a lot of superhero movies that I appreciate. But Thor, that first Thor movie, I absolutely adored. It gets number 5 on my list. At number 4 on my list, another movie I absolutely love, James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy. Dude, first of all, if you're looking forward to Suicide Squad, and we're going to be talking about Suicide Squad in just a little bit, but if you're like me and you're really looking forward to Suicide Squad, then you should be thanking James Gunn and Guardians of the Galaxy, because if that movie had not come out and proved, because look, a lot of people now think, oh, it's MCU. Put out anything in the MCU and it's going to be successful. We just take that for granted. Everybody forgets what a massive set of brass balls that Kevin Feige had to put out this property that nobody, even a lot of comic book fans, had never heard of. The Guardians of the Galaxy. And suddenly now they were going interstellar. They were going off Earth. This was a huge roll of the dice for Marvel and Kevin Feige. And bringing in a director like James Gunn, while certain auteurs like myself we know James Gunn, and we totally love it, whether it's Slither or Super or PG porn or whatever it is he's been doing. And we appreciate James Gunn. He's always done small, low-budget stuff. And to take a chance on a director like James Gunn, which I was thrilled to see, and roll the dice on a property like Guardians of the Galaxy, and how damn good that movie. That is just such a purely entertaining thing. Chris Pratt was a star. Guardians of the Galaxy made Chris Pratt a superstar. And really gave Chris Pratt a platform to show off his particular personality and quirk and his talent. And he's why Guardians of the Galaxy is why Chris Pratt is this huge megastar today. So Guardians of the Galaxy comes in at number 4. At number 3, above Thor, above Iron Man, above Ant-Man, above Guardians of the Galaxy, is this brand new Captain America Civil War. Is in my number 3 spot. Now, you know how much I've just been talking about how much I love Ant-Man, I love Guardians of the Galaxy, I love Thor, I love Iron Man, but above all of them, to me, is this new Captain America Civil War. To me, it's in just my opinion, it's better than all those other films that I just professed my complete love for. And I can't go into more than that because there's a review embargo. Once again, that's coming on Wednesday. At number 2, obviously, it's Captain America Winter Soldier. I still remember walking out of that theater. I was with Jennings Roth Cornett, who's over at HitFix now, walked out. And I think Dennis was with me too. Walked out of that, and I think Corey was with me as well. Walked out, and I was just stunned. I didn't know a comic book movie could have that kind of depth, that kind of storytelling, the Russo brothers had told us forever that, hey, this is a 70s political thriller. It's like, okay, sure. But they really did. They somehow combined like a 70s political thriller with a modern day comic book action film. It was unbelievable. Captain America Civil War. And to me, number 1, which is also for me, my personal still number 1 best all time comic book movie, is The Avengers. So that's at the top spot. So again, the top 10. Again, this is just my list. Number 10, The Hulk. Number 9, Captain America, the First Avenger. Number 8, Avengers, Age of Ultron. Number 7, Ant-Man. Number 6, Iron Man. Number 5, the first Thor movie. Number 4, Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 3, the brand new Captain America Civil War. Number 2, Captain America the Winter Soldier. And it just ever so slightly beats out Civil War to me. Just ever so slightly. And number 1, the Avengers. So there you go, guys. Those are my top 10. Hey, send me messages. Hop on Twitter. Let me know. What do you think of my list? Obviously, since all film is subjective and we're all different, all of our lists are going to be different from each other. I'm sure there's probably none of you that 1 through 10, your list looks exactly the same as mine because we're all different. Let me know what you thought of my list and how you would have changed yours up around for there. All right, let's move on to the third topic today. And the third topic was this. I mentioned that last night, Ann and I went out for the evening. We went out, had a nice dinner in Hollywood. Then we went to go to the Dolby Theater, check out 2 cellos, had a wonderful time. But at the beginning of that evening, I started getting tweets. John, the new Suicide Squad trailer has dropped. And so I take out my phone and I start watching the new Suicide Squad trailer. Really enjoy it. It's a great trailer. And there are some people out there. I mean, first of all, the trailer, looks like it's got some great action. There's some great one-liners. Looks funny. Looks like I'm really looking forward to the chemistry between these characters now. That one scene in the trailer, if you haven't seen the trailer, go check it out. It's all over YouTube. But that one scene in the trailer when they're doing something and all of a sudden you hear the Joker's laugh. Ah, 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 ah. By the way, I'm not sure what I think of Joker's new laugh. I think Leto's going to be an amazing Joker, but I'm not. Some moments I love his new laugh. Some moments I don't, but whatever. So that you hear that laugh in the background, and all of a sudden everybody freezes, and like it goes to Harley Quinn. She says, "Uh-oh." It's like everybody fears the Joker. To me, that's awesome. I love it. There's some great funny lines in it. But here's the thing: what a lot of people started saying online, because there's a lot of these funny lines and everything and really lighthearted stuff in the trailer, some people saying, oh, well, now you see these scenes that Warner Brothers went back and reshot because of all the negative feedback they were hearing about Batman vs. Superman. No. That's nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. All the shots you see in the Suicide Squad trailer were shot already. None of those are the new scenes. And in case, John Schnepp and I didn't make this clear before, there was that report going around that, number one, Suicide Squad was going back for some reshoots. And as we've explained, every comic book movie goes back for reshoots. Kevin Feige even said, even before we start shooting day one of the movie, we schedule when our reshoots are coming. Because once you see the movie coming together and you watch it and you see it coming to life, you start to realize, you know what we should do? We should do this, this, and this. And they all go and do some reshoots. Every significant movie will go through some round of pickup shots or reshoots or whatever. But in this report that was going around, it was suggested that, because there's really no fun in the movie. There's no fun in Suicide Squad. Like that, the little funny lines that you saw in the first trailer, those are the only funny lines in the movie. And Schnepp and I, we got online and said, well, we know for a fact that that's not true. Okay, we know for a fact, because long before that report came out, Schnepp and I talked, we can't say who, but John Schnepp and I had a discussion with somebody very connected to Suicide Squad. And long before that came out, we were just talking about the trailer, and this person was telling us, that trailer, they don't even show you anything that's near the funniest stuff in the movie. The whole tone of Suicide Squad it's very dark in one sense, but at the same time, it goes for the lightheartedness and the humor throughout, which I love. I love movies that are dark, that strike a balance by having some lightheartedness and humor run throughout it as well to keep it in balance. I really like that. I really enjoy Batman vs. Superman, but even I, as somebody who's one of the defenders of the movie, I'll say it probably could have used a little bit more of that, a little bit more lighthearted stuff just to counterbalance the awesome dark stuff that they had. But anyway, we were told a long time ago, Schnepp and I, that Suicide Squad is filled with this. And then a couple of weeks ago, this report comes out. It's like, there's like no humor or fun in Suicide Squad, so they're going back to do these reshoots. Now, we know for a fact that's not true. We know for a fact that there was a lot of humor and stuff like that in it. And all the stuff that you see in this new trailer, which I think is spectacular, by the way. That was already there. All that was already there. So just put that out of your head. So let's just talk about the trailer for a second. I think the trailer looks fantastic. And you knew they wouldn't be able to get away. I think every trailer from here on out is going to have some glimpse of the Batman, because even the people who didn't like Batman versus Superman are pretty much universally agreeing that Ben Affleck's Batman was pretty awesome. So you know they're going to capitalize on that and give... I have no idea how much Batman's going to be in this movie. I don't know if he's going to be in for like 45 seconds. I don't know if he's going to be in it for like 10 minutes. I just don't know. I would be shocked if it was more than 10 minutes. But I just don't know how much. But you know that all the marketing, all the trailers you're going to have from here on out are probably going to give you at least a glimpse of Batman here or there, because everybody seemed to love the new Batman. So that's just kind of the thing to do. So I saw the new Suicide Squad trailer. I loved it. Look, remember guys, this is being directed by David Ayer, who is a fabulous director. And I think he's going to crush this movie. I think he's just going to kill it. And I think a lot of us are really going to appreciate it. I don't know how well it's going to do at the box office, because it like Guardians of the Galaxy, it's an unknown property. Now, Disney knocked it out of the park with Guardians of the Galaxy, and they put together a terrific marketing campaign that got people interested. Will the same happen with Suicide Squad? I don't know. Suicide Squad may be a better movie than Guardians of the Galaxy and not do as well as at the box office. We'll just have to see. But I thought the trailer was fantastic. I cannot wait for this movie. Let me know what you guys think of it. All right, now, before we get on to the Twitter questions today, I want to stop for a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the John Campea Podcast, geekfeed.com. Geekfeed.com, the world's greatest dedicated geek news feed, providing you with fresh, juicy, up-to-the-minute breaking news and shareable content on all things geek. It's the place to get your geek fix. They eat and sleep nothing but geek, scouring the interweb to serve up some seriously tasty geek nuggets. So get ready to cram every orifice with the very latest from the world of comics, games, TV, and movies. Chow down on the funniest vines and memes. Feast your eyes on all the latest trailers, posts, and fan art. Remember, follow geekfeed.com on all their social media by following them at geekfeed.com. That's at geekfeed, DOTCOM, across all social media platforms. And we at the John Campea Podcast would like to thank geekfeed.com for their support. All right, guys. Now we're going to get into your Twitter questions. As you know, on every episode of the John Campea Podcast, I like to take a little bit of time and take some of your questions via Twitter. How do you get one of your questions on the John Campea Podcast? It's simple. You simply tweet out your question and just make sure you include in the tweet the hashtag TJCP, the John Campea Podcast. So tweet out your question, include the hashtag TJCP, and that way I'll be sure to get it and know that it's a tweet for the John Campea Podcast. So I've picked out 4 tweets here today, so we'll get started with this. JPEC1098 writes, John, any chance Independence Day Resurgence will have the similar box office numbers as Jurassic World had? Interesting question. I mean, look, nobody saw, when Jurassic World came out, nobody, not even the most optimistic people at the studios thought that that movie of such an old franchise had the remotest chance of breaking the all-time opening weekend box office record that was at the time held by Avengers. Now, of course, Jurassic World no longer holds that record because a little movie called Star Wars came out and shattered its record. But nobody saw that coming. Could the same thing happen with Independence Day Resurgence? I'm going to say no. I don't think it will, for a couple of reasons. One, while a lot of people like myself have very, very fond memories of the first Independence Day, and while a lot of people like myself are really looking forward to this new Independence Day, I think it's fair to say that Independence Day isn't remembered nearly as fondly or with as much nostalgia or as many fond memories as the original Jurassic Park is. I think Jurassic Park is one of those like all-time greats. Not one of the all-time great movies, but one of the all-time you remember seeing Jurassic Park for the first time kind of movies. It was, digitally speaking, in the world of visual effects, it was so revolutionary at the time. Even George Lucas said that seeing Jurassic Park is what made him realize, I can now make these new Star Wars movies. Now, maybe some of us wish he didn't, but that's how revolutionary Jurassic, and it wasn't just great visual effects. It was a magical story with great direction. One of Steven Spielberg's probably top 10 films that he's ever done. So, no, I'm going to say no. Now, if you had asked me before Jurassic World came out, hey, John, do you think Jurassic World can break the all-time opening weekend box office record? I would have laughed. And look how that turned out. But if you're going to ask me right now, do I think Independence Day can do the same thing Jurassic World did? I'm going to say no. I do believe it can hit $100 million opening weekend. I can believe it can be a big movie and have a $100 million opening weekend. But getting up into that $200 million range, I could be wrong. I mean, we were all wrong about Jurassic World, but I just don't see it happening. All right, let's move on to the next one. And the next one comes from Nathan T. And Nathan T writes, John, it's been said that Ben Affleck is the best Batman we've ever had. Is Tom Holland the best Spider-Man we've ever had? This is a tricky question to answer because, again, there is a review embargo. So I am not going to review Tom Holland's performance as Spider-Man. I will simply tell you what I can easily put out in a tweet. All right? And as a matter of fact, I did. I put this on Facebook. So I can tell you this because this is what I put on Facebook. It is too early to tell because Spider-Man is in 2 scenes in the movie. They're great scenes. Again, I can't review the scenes or tell you what's in them or anything like that. That comes on Wednesday. But he's only in 2 scenes. And I feel like anybody who tells you that this is the best Spider-Man ever, they're getting ahead of themselves. They're blowing their load prematurely because it's just 2 scenes. I need to see a bigger sample size. Did I like what I saw in the new Spider-Man? Yes. You'll see that all over Twitter. Yes, I definitely put me in that camp that I really liked what I saw in Spider-Man. But it is far too early to say that this is the greatest Spider-Man of all time, especially since he's only in 2 scenes and especially in one scene, which I'm sure you figure this out. 80 or 90% of him in this one scene is just a CGI character. So it's too early to say, but I can say this. There is many reasons to be optimistic. That's all I'm going to say. Again, check out my review on Wednesday when I can actually review this damn thing. All right, let's move on to one Aussie nerd. And one Aussie nerd writes, Batman vs. Superman is being beat by the boss. That's the new Melissa McCarthy movie. DC fanboys are desperately defending this and being irrational. What do you think? What do I think? How long is a movie supposed to stay number 1? Look, the way you put it in your tweet, Batman vs. Superman is being beaten by the boss. You're saying it as if they opened on the same weekend. You do know eventually Star Wars was beaten at the box office too, right? You do know that eventually Jurassic World was beaten at the box office. You do know that eventually The Avengers was beaten at the box office. Eventually Batman vs. Superman was going to be beaten at the box office. And don't forget, other than that one where she was like robbing a fast food store, Melissa McCarthy movies generally open really big. So yes, in its 3rd week, Batman vs. Superman was beaten by a Melissa McCarthy movie on its opening weekend. That shouldn't shock anybody. So it's a look, all due respect, Aussie nerd, all due respect, you and me, brothers, right? All due respect, my friend. But it's a ludicrous thing to say. Batman vs. Superman was beaten by the boss. Well, eventually some movie that is going to make $25, $26, $30 million on its opening weekend, eventually every movie gets beat at the box office. This one was it. Batman vs. Superman, by the time you listen to this, if it hasn't already crossed it, it will be close. It's already made $800 million and climbing. $800 million at the box office and climbing. Now, some people out there aren't intelligent enough to know the difference between a movie didn't do well versus a movie didn't do as well as it could have. Those are 2 completely different things. Has Batman vs. Superman fallen short of what a Batman versus Superman movie could have done? Absolutely. There is no debating that. That is absolutely fair to say that this Batman versus Superman movie did not do as well as a Batman versus Superman movie could have done. That's a totally fair thing to say. But you have to be intelligent enough to know that there is a massive huge beating difference between not doing as good as it could have done versus it didn't do good. Those are two totally different things. Because while it may be true that some DC fanboys are trying to defend it, you would have to be an absolute brain-dead Marvel exclusive fanboy to suggest that Batman vs. Superman has not done great at the box office. It has done great. It's already made about $800 million. Do you know that's profit, my friends? That's profit. Not $800 million in profit, but Batman vs. Superman, despite how much money they spent on this movie and all the money they put into marketing and all that kind of stuff, this movie is profitable and has made them loads of cash. $800 million and climbing. And climbing. I don't know. I think it's safe to say it'll probably finish off between the $850 and $900 million range. Now, you would have to be an idiot to not look at that and say, wow, that movie did fantastic. Making $800, $900 million. It did fantastic. But remember, that's a different question than did it do as well as it could have? Because that answer is no. A Batman versus Superman movie could have made $1.3, $1.4, $1.5 billion, I think. Now, I've been saying that for a long time. I think it could have made that much money. If it was fantastic and unbelievable and all the critics loved it and all the fan responses loved it, then it could have made more. But don't fool yourself into thinking that there's not a difference between how good it did versus how good it could have done. Those are two completely different questions. And some people confuse the two because some people say, hey, well, if the movie didn't do as good as it could have done, that means it didn't do good. That's nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. You're a fool if you try to look in the mirror and tell yourself that a movie that makes $800, $900 million didn't do good. Nonsense. Total, absolute nonsense. It did well. But just because it did well, conversely, doesn't necessarily mean it did as well as it could have done. And we all know that a Batman vs. Superman could have done better. But remember, they are two totally separate issues. And again, Aussie Nerd, my brother, my friend, saying Batman versus Superman got beaten by the boss. That's a nonsense statement. That's a nonsense statement. Because eventually every movie gets beaten by something. You're talking as if they were on a level playing field and they opened on the same week and Melissa McCarthy beat Ben Affleck. That is not what happened. Batman versus Superman in its third week made over $20+ million in its third weekend. All right. And only came in behind the current reports, at any rate, say it only came behind the Melissa McCarthy movie by like $50,000. It's not even like it trailed it by $10 million. It trailed it by like $50,000. It lost to a Melissa McCarthy movie in its third weekend while still making close to $25 million on its third weekend. Do you know how many movies wish in their best day that they could make $25+ million in their third weekends? It doesn't happen a lot. It happens. It doesn't happen a lot. So it's kind of a ludicrous question, man. It's just calling it like I see it. But again, you and me, brothers, best friends, whatever. It's kind of a ludicrous question. All right. Last question of the day comes from the Don Brooks APR, who writes, John, do you believe that college is necessary in order to do what you do? Well, I went to college. Now, granted, I studied law, but is it necessary? Again, is it necessary is a different question than asking, would you be doing yourself a huge favor by doing college first? Are two separate questions. Is it necessary? No, it is not absolutely necessary. You could do what I do without college and break through and break it big. However, you would give yourself a much better chance, I believe, of being able to do what I do if you did go to college. When you talk to most of my peers in this circle, a lot of them have, now I don't have a journalism degree per se, but a lot of them have journalism degrees or are majors in this or that. They all have college. Here's the thing. You cannot guarantee success in life, in anything, right? I talk about this a lot. You can do all the right things and still not succeed. It's possible that you can do a lot of the wrong things and fall ass backwards into success. Nothing is guaranteed. But this is what I say all the time in my personal life, is that all you can do is do everything you can to position yourself for success, to give yourself the best chance for success. That's all you can do. All right? So, is it absolutely necessary that you go to college to do what I do? The answer to that question is no. It's not absolutely necessary. But I believe you greatly enhance your chances of being successful doing what I do, or being successful in almost anything if you do go to college, if you do go to school. It's like asking the question, okay, I need to make a basket. I got a basketball. I need to make a basket. Is it absolutely necessary to do a layup to get a basket? Or can I heave up a shot from midcourt? Well, you can heave up a shot from midcourt and it can go in, but the statistics say you have a much better chance of making your basket if you go in for a layup. By like 10 times, you have a better chance of making your shot if you do it as a layup instead of heaving a shot from half court. So can you heave up a half court shot and do what I do? Is it absolutely necessary to go to college to do what I do? No. But I think you'd be foolish to not position yourself for success and give yourself the best opportunity for success by doing education. I think that just increases your chances for success. And again, it doesn't guarantee that you'll be able to do it. There are no guarantees in life except death and taxes, and video game movies suck. And hopefully World of Warcraft and Assassin's Creed will change that trend. But there are no guarantees in life. All you can do is do what you can to increase your chances for success. And then let the chips fall where they may. Roll the dice and see what happens. So that's my personal bit of advice. There's probably smarter people out there that'll give better advice than that. But since you asked, that's my advice. All right, guys, that'll do it for me for this episode, this Monday installment of the John Campea Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. Of course, don't forget, my novel, The Pride, is available on Amazon right now. Head on over to Amazon and order your copy. You can get it in Kindle or a physical paperback copy as well. And also, guys, listen, if you like this podcast, if you spend time listening to this podcast, do me a favor, because I know a lot of you haven't done this yet, but do me a favor. It only takes a second, doesn't cost you anything. Open up iTunes and search for the John Campea Podcast and rate this podcast and leave a comment. That would help me out a great deal. I'd appreciate if you did that. And of course, once again, make sure you follow me on Facebook and on Twitter and on Instagram and on YouTube, all at John Campea, and head on over to Comic Con HQ and sign up for your free trial of Comic Con HQ that starts up in May. My brand new show is going to be premiering on the Comic Con HQ network in partnership with Lionsgate Studio and Comic Con. I cannot wait. Go sign up for your free trial right now. All right, guys, that'll do it for me for today. Thanks so much for joining for the John Campea Podcast. And until next time, bye-bye.